Donna, I would go ahead and start since it's conceptual anyway and no vote is being taken. You can.
Okay, great. So do we have a fill-in chair for the meeting to take charge of the meeting today? Is that you, Alex?
Sure, I can do it, but I'm only going to be chair for the first item.
Okay, well,
Okay.
maybe Doug will chime in by then.
All right, we will bring the Ohio City Design Review Committee meeting to order for Thursday, May 19th. Donna, you can call the roll and then the first project.
So currently in attendance, we have Margaret Land.
Here.
Marika Clark.
Here.
Chris Lozier.
Here.
And Alex Frondorf.
Here.
And then the first project is 4750 Lorain Avenue, and our project representative is Tyler Brummett. He is present, and let me pull up your presentation. Okay. We can see that okay? All right, and then Tyler, just let me know when you want to go to the next screen, and then you can start your conceptual presentation.
Yeah, so bought this property a couple months. Yeah, so I was working with SRP and my internet may be a little unstable.
Oh, and sorry, Tyler, can I interrupt you really
So
quick?
if you guys can't hear me, just let me know. I was working with the SRP program and decided, so SRP actually put this project together. They use the colors, the design. I have the contractors are on a strict schedule. So I just thought it would possibly take a little bit longer with the SRP.
Tyler, why don't you turn your video off and see if it helps? You're cutting up.
Okay. All right, is that better?
I think.
Might be.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Kind of. Okay. So yeah, so again, I was working with SRP on this.
Oh no.
And they put the colors together. All that I plan on doing with this project is to have my own. I own some real estate. All throughout Cleveland. I'm actually going to have the other side of the property would be like a coffee shop or something like that. So really, I could from the original, how the building originally was. I did use the color concepts to see on the next page, if you want to scroll down. So we used the preservation color, palettes, the overall concept right now. The building is completely vacant.
Tyler,
very run down.
Tyler, can you hear me?
Yeah.
That you're cutting out a lot. Maybe if you want to add some details in the chat, or maybe if someone has questions.
Let me see if I can call in on my phone.
Yeah, why don't you call in on your phone? I was going to say.
Yeah, give me a second here.
All right, can you guys hear me better now?
Yes, I think.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm in vacation right now, so my beach house has like really bad service. But all right, the project, we'll start from the beginning. So I bought this a couple months ago with the intentions of going with SRP, and we were working with them. The issues that I had really was just timing with my contractors. So I worked with the design and everything. So I used the color palette that was accepted from Landmark and everything like that. But just because of the timing with the contractors, I decided just to not do that and just pay for the whole project out of pocket. My intentions for this building is to renovate that corner. There's a lot of development, obviously, that we all know that's going over there. But I also wanted to keep the historic of the building as best as I possibly could. So the owner to the right of the property, I kind of wanted to match the colors of the brick to kind of like, flow with that. And then all the windows, because this building used to be Cleveland's trust company back in the day. So, which was the little bottom right corner, which I'm going to be actually putting my office in there. So I'm going to be working from there. I own a real estate company. So it's going to be one of our offices. So I'm going to actually be, working in that neighborhood over there. And then the corner unit is going to be, probably, a great opportunity for a coffee shop, or, maybe another brokerage or something like that. The building right now is completely vacant, really run down, extremely run down. It's, it got things falling off of it. But the colors that we decided to choose, I wanted the neighborhood to accept it, but I also wanted to make sure that going through design review, I could do my best I possibly could to make sure that I checked all the boxes based on the colors. So that's why I did use the color palette from the preservation selections that was what SRP told me to choose from. So all the windows would be replaced, better, storefront windows, clean up the property. It's a corner unit, so the other side would also be cleaned up. And yeah, that's kind of really what we're looking at doing. We did file the permits already, so permits are in, demo permits are in. We have the renovation permits are in. Yeah, we're kind of just ready to rock and roll.
Tyler, in looking at a picture of the building just on Google, it looks like the brick on the first story, at least on one side of the building, is blonde brick that's not painted. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it's there's that someone at some point, I have original photo and the original permit from like 1897 when it was a Cleveland Trust Company. And that's what I'm trying to get it to go back to. At some point, someone put this blonde casing brick over top of it. And it's almost like a shell brick, if that makes sense. It's like a cover of, yeah. And then you see where the gray lines, like the signage part that right now there's like a piece of wood that is covering that, that's kind of falling off. So once we saw that under what was underneath that, before that used to be like windows and there was a little bit of separation. So the building was changed over the years to what it looks like now. And we did find like the original pillars inside the walls, which are awesome. So once we start, so I really want to try to renovate that and bring those out. So you see where the gray on the lower gray and the upper gray, underneath that's the actual brick. So it's not probably in good shape until we really get the demolition of it. But the goal is to match everything. So it's all going to be red. The windows were originally how my concept were. I don't know why someone decided to put plywood and block it in, but they did. So it's going to open up that corner, I think, really, really well and brighten up an interior. And you see these two doors in the middle. To the left of each of them, there's a historic pillar. And then on the far right side window, there's also a pillar inside the wall. I don't know structurally if it's still good or not, but once we get on the project, I get the exterior done. I would love to bring that out. So at least when you're inside the unit, you can see that, you know, the original metal detailed pillars that are in there.
And so are you going to attempt to remove this exterior blonde brick and go
So
back?
yes, I don't know if I have to fully remove it though. My contractor said, pending on the condition, once they get into it, that they would be able to match the building right to the right, which Mike Kaminsky did his building, and they basically sand it and buff it, and then they stain it. And that's what the building to the right, and then the other one to the right has done. They basically painted it, stained it with like a brick lacquer that lasts for a while. I think Mike did his over 13 years ago or something like that. It still looks great. And then on the other corner, someone painted part of the building brown. It's got like brown paint. So it's all kind of choppy.
And are you going to be restoring the corner entrance there?
Like the Pyrrhic aspect of it.
Underneath?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And then will you
Yeah,
be
so
doing the
that's-
same? Go ahead.
Yeah, same stuff. I'm going to be using like a hardy board for the siding. So it's going to be like a quality stuff. Because all that wood it's rotted. It's unrepairable. It's dry rotted. It's kind of fallen down. So we're going to be using hardy board and still keeping the original look of how it originally was.
All right. And will you be using the same thickness of hardy as the lap siding that's there now, or will it deviate?
Yeah, it's going to be exactly the same trim, like whatever the wood panels are or wood siding is. It's literally, we want it to look exactly the same.
No wood grain though on the hardy. Just have it smooth.
Yeah, just smooth.
And then will you be doing the same treatment? I see the rendering you have is just on the Lorain side. Will you be doing the same treatment on the, was that 47th side?
Yeah, on 48th, we would be doing
48th.
the same thing all the way. Yeah, same exact concept on the other side as well. Originally, I wanted to go black, but after, speaking with SRP, I don't know if that would get approved. I would love to go black and more trendy and kind of like how some of the buildings are down the street. But I mean, after the gray came in, I really did like the two-tone gray. And I feel like that would look good as well. And it will kind of match that corner. And then you can see there's like yellow paint, brown paint there. And then at the top where the trim's at, it looks kind of like black, but all that is actually sandstone. So that can get, power washed and look really good. It's in pretty good shape.
Tyler, do you have, or is it possible to send over that historic photo you mentioned that you have?
Yeah. Let me see if I have it here.
Yeah, Tyler, if you could send it to me, I can add it to the file folder as well.
Yeah, let me just reply here. Yeah, it's pretty cool. The story behind this building is the smaller unit was Cleveland Trust Company. And then there was a pharmacist that lived, rented out the top, but also sold his drugs on the corner there. So that's kind of the story. He owned it for forever. This building's only traded, I think, 3 times, and I'm like the 4th person since 1897.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and that auto parts store, what's really great is we found pocket doors, original pocket doors on the top floor that were never even pulled out of the walls at the auto parts store. So they're like 200-year-old doors that are in perfect shape. So the brick inside of the building is awesome. It's all exposed brick, looks really nice, high ceilings. Structurally, the building's really sound. So I'm going to keep all that exposed brick as well. So.
And on the 40th Street side, you said keeping it like the same concept. I just was curious, maybe we could just go to, like, could you just kind of point out, so like you've got those ground floor windows that are glass brick right now? Would the idea just be to replace those with
Yes, yeah,
the same? the
yeah,
same-
at some point, someone put those bathroom blocks in there. We would
Uh-huh.
be in the black new windows on the side there. And that corner unit, those back 3 windows used to be, it was part of, the office at one point, but then it was also part of an apartment too. So once the demo was in there, we actually found a hidden staircase behind the wall that went up to the pharmacist's apartment upstairs. So that depending on who rents out that corner unit, they may take that back spot, which could be like a nice coffee shop. There could be a sitting area in the back, or it could be an apartment as well.
And the windows on
Just
that, on the kind of back, whatever you call it, the cut-in part of the building, are those all getting replaced also?
In
Like all
the rear of the building.
Yeah, the rear
Yeah.
back parking lot. Mhm.
Yeah, so you see where that spray paint's on the left side of the building right there in the
Mhm.
back. That's actually not my building.
Oh.
In the rear of the, yes, those 2 with the metal things on the window, that's not my building, but where that door is, it says DD no parking or something like that. That is the building. So yeah, my building is the shorter one that stops.
Donna, could you go, are you controlling that? Could you just go, back to so we could see like from the parking lot view? Yeah, okay, so it's only up I see, only up until where that, yeah. Mhm. And then on that kind of bay window on the side, would you be replacing that front window with a full height window also? Right there?
3, 1. Yeah. This, yeah, I haven't, it's actually blocked in on the inside next to the door you're talking about, right?
Oh, I'm just now talking about the second floor where Donna's pointing. See
Oh,
that,
oh,
where
yeah,
there's yep.
All those windows would be updated.
Okay. Because I think we'd probably want to see that go back to a full height window that's consistent with the other windows on that second floor. Or right now it has that like little kind of mini clerestory looking window.
Oh, you're talking on the bump out, right?
Yep.
Okay, I don't, and from the inside, there was a fireplace, I believe, somewhere around there.
Okay.
You're talking where the gray was at, right?
Yeah, I think that's where, if there was a historic photo, I'd be curious to see what was there originally, was that a full height window, or if it really was for some reason
Personally,
fireplace
I
right
think
there.
it was.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I personally think it was, because that's just, someone painted it blue and then half of it was gray. So I think that's kind of why it looks like that. And I apologize, I'm trying to find these photos. I got them somewhere saved in here. I might not be able to give them to you right on this call, but I'll be able to find them after the call.
Well, I think that would be helpful when you come back for final approval, at the very least, to include the historic photo. And then, cut sheets and details of all the materials you just told us. It all sounds like you're going in the appropriate direction and planning for great materials. We'll just want to see all of that.
Yeah. And I think it'd be really helpful to have a rendering or, drawing view of this side of the building also, this side and the back side, the rear side.
Okay. I do actually have that as well, just on the final color palette they sent over. They just sent the front of it. I have a few different concepts of it. They sent me one with blue, a couple of different renderings of it, and I thought personally that it would look better, I think, if the whole building kind of matched and flowed together. The side though wouldn't have, how there's that signage on the Lorain side, that signage wouldn't wrap around the building, if that makes sense.
When you say
Yeah, you
signage,
see,
do you
like-
mean that wood belt cord? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that wouldn't wrap around the buildings. Originally, there was never anything on this side.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Tyler, I apologize because I was a little bit late to jump on the call. Can you just clarify at what point in the process you are at with the physical changes to the building? Like,
We haven't
have you started any demo or
No.
anything like that?
No, we haven't done anything on the exterior of the building at all. And the building was already, demoed by Mike when I bought the building.
Okay.
But we haven't done anything exterior, and my guys are really just kind of on pause. Permits are submitted, permits are in, demo permits are approved. We did do the renovation permits, so all that stuff is there.
Right.
He doesn't want to buy material or order anything until, hey, we're like, hey, your concept's approved. We like the colors, and then we'll roll.
Right. So you have been working with an architect on the renovation plans for the building?
Yeah, so the exterior was done by SRP, so that luckily, that did save me some money. I am working on the interior with Cleveland Draw, with Matt. He was supposed to have it over a couple weeks ago, but he's really busy. But I'm not concerned yet on the interior, because I want to kind of focus one thing at a time and get the exterior approved and going. And then the interior, I'm really not changing much of anything besides, finishing it, because it's demoed. The all inside is basically a shell. It's a brick shell.
Yeah,
There's
and
nothing
we don't you do what you do on the interior of the building. Our purview is on the exterior. I'm just asking because I do think it would be, we will need to see like cut sheets of the windows and details on that storefront application. And I think see a little bit more detail on the plans for that, the removal of what looks like mid-century kind of blonde brick and restoration of the original brick underneath, or if there's a contingency plan if that brick is not able to be restored. And that's why I asked if you had an architect, it would be helpful to have proper drawings of all of those things, to have a full understanding of the scope of the renovation on the exterior.
Yeah, I can actually have the brick aspect of it. My guys were telling me like, hey, we want to take this wood off the front before we go, but I didn't feel comfortable with them doing that until I spoke with you guys. But he's like, hey, permit already submitted, it's fine, but I just didn't want to do something without actually having a conversation before, because once we take that top part off, that's kind of where it all comes in line. But I'll be able to have an answer probably if that brick can be, restained and kept. I'm hoping it can, because it's going to save me about 30 to 40 grand. So that's my goal, is to save it.
Okay,
So
and we would encourage you, I think we're really supportive and encouraging of some light exploratory like demo and peeling back to see, so you can make assumptions and plan for what you may find beneath elements that are going to be removed.
Okay.
And of course, appreciate you coming to the board to ask, to get the concept review before you just start going crazy on things. Margaret, do you have any thoughts on like treating that brick? Like, is that blonde brick potentially historic as well? And is that a consideration?
I mean, I agree that it's probably a mid-century application. I think it would be nicer to see it removed. The bond doesn't match the top. Depending on how it was attached is really what's going to factor in to whether or not the brick underneath could be saved. There are some consolidants and stuff, but I don't know if you want to go get into that.
Is it appropriate to
I'll
paint
know
that brick?
if we rip that top part off. He said it's either like it's either a cover or it could be part of the brick, but from the inside, it's red. So he said there could be a cover or it could have been stained. That Mike, who I bought the building, who owns the building to the right, said it was stained at one point because his building was the same color. But my contractor said, well, I don't know. Like, we have to see that. So I just don't want to say it was stained or it was a cover until I actually know.
Yeah, I think, you just have to take a look.
Yeah.
My other question is, what is the roofing material on the turret?
It looks like standing seam.
And do you have
Yeah,
any plans for restoration, replacement, any scope of work up there?
Yep, we're with that. If it's savable, we're gonna have. If the goal is to clear the rust off, it's actually not. As of right now, I don't believe it's leaking. It's just needs some TLC cleaned up, and then we would probably have Sherwin come down, look at the roof. If not, I would have to replace the metal. Right now, my contractor's saying that it should be savable. We just need to sandblast it, re-puts the seams in, change, like put the screws in that are missing there. The point of the turret is actually a little bit, the little pole, so that would need to be secured up. But other than that, structurally, like the building is very, like there's beams in that turret that don't have any rotted wood. It's like really, really good shape.
It's great.
Okay. I guess-
Go ahead. Ingrid.
No, I just want to emphasize that like anything on this exterior will need to have approval by this board. So I just don't want you to come back and not have answers to the full scope of the renovation. That's where I'm getting with that, is like making sure that you're including, everything, parapet, window details, roof details, any window changes, any window, if you're going to punch more windows into that 47th or 48th street facade, that type of stuff, just making sure that you have all your ducks in a row to avoid having to come back multiple times.
Yeah, so the goal is I'm not changing any, I'm not, removing and more windows. I'm going to keep the same spots that they're at and just replace them. So what you guys are looking for is just the sizes of every window that would be going in there. If the brick will be restained and saved, or if it needs to be fully removed and tuck pointed. And then I think that's it, really. That's kind of the only thing that would hold this up.
The wood material, like you mentioned, you're going to use hardy, so we'd like to see
The
that
size of each panel.
identified. Yeah. The other thing is you mentioned cleaning the sandstone. We'd like to know the process, because you don't want to use anything that's too harsh of a sandblasting process to do that cleaning. So we would just like to understand what product was being used for that.
No problem.
And Tyler, I
have
think
that
the
stuff.
other thing that Nia was mentioning is if you could provide just like cut sheets for the window, the specific window that you're using.
Okay. Yep.
And storefront system.
Dimensions on all the storefront elements, like we'll need to know the division sizes, the transom sizes, like all of those need to be fully dimensioned, detailed, how it intersects and pockets into the existing opening.
Yeah, cut sheets for the window, dimensions, sizes, hardy board size, brick. And as far as the colors, do you guys have any issues that you foresee with the colors that are there?
I don't.
No.
Okay.
The colors seem fine.
Okay, I can add this stuff in a week.
And if you or any of your tenants down the line, we do also review and approve signage. So if that's part of this approval process, or if it's down the line, when you guys are closer to taking occupancy, just to note that we will need to approve signage on the building, including like window and door graphics, all of that stuff.
Okay.
And did you say that you decided not to pursue the SRP?
Yeah, I'm not going to.
Okay.
Just because of timing, right? Like the timing, and then my contractor he's doing a lot of work for me, and it will probably delay us about another 6 or 7 weeks just on the completion and the payment process. So yeah, it would save me probably about $650,000 or so, but the amount of money that I'm losing just on interest of holding this building right now and not getting it finished is a lot. So I just want to get it moving forward. And plus I've been working from home, and the fiance and I try to work from home together. So she's like, can you please get out of here and get your office done? So,
All right, do we have any more comments from anyone on the committee? Or questions, Tyler, before we wrap up your comments?
and who would you got? Where, like, with these answers and these cut sheets, who do you guys want me to send them to?
If you could send them to Nate Lull or myself, it would be the person who you submitted the presentation to.
Okay, cool.
And don't forget the historic photo if you have that as well, but we'll remind you offline.
I'll get it.
Donna, what about, or I don't know, if this question is for, but like putting back in any trees or sort of like a thin median here. I don't know where the property line ends on this, but you know, this stretch of Lorain is pretty concrete jungle feeling, and I feel like it would be a great opportunity to look at that possibility if, I don't know, if possible. I know it's a narrow sidewalk, but just on Lorain right there. Even just cutting a couple of wells for grass.
Carl, can you answer that question? I believe that that is city property.
Well, the sidewalks, I believe, are it depends on where the property line ends. Because I
Right.
think the sidewalks are technically part of the property, so I don't know, is there streetscape already planned here? That'd be something I would want to talk
In
with
the
Matt Moss about.
future. So there is a streetscape that's planned for the future. It's kind of a gray area at the moment.
Yeah, Matt Moss is not in the office right now, so that'd be something I could bring up to him to see if he's got more information on that for later.
But yeah,
And
Tyler,
I
if
do
there's
know
a way to
parking.
maybe see if you could add some greenery, I think maybe that's what Marika's asking for.
Well, yeah, and I guess I just you know, I know that like supposedly as a city, we have a project to add in trees, right? And there is that tree program. I guess my question would be like, Tyler, if you would be willing to kind of work with, I don't know if it's like the city or OCI on that tree planting program. I just feel like I would love to see, you know, little by little, this part of Lorain get a little bit more, you know, green space on it, either if it's even just a thin grass median or space for like, you know, like a tree or two or shrubbery or something like that, just to give it a little bit of green. But I don't know, just something to think about.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed of that happening at all, really. There is parking in front of the building right there, so I do know that is spaces that would be utilized. So as long as the parking spaces wouldn't be taken over, because parking is very limited behind the building.
Yeah, but parking wouldn't be affected if you had a green. I mean, like you can see on the 40th, you have a tree, you have a median running the length of your building, and you can still have parked cars there.
I see. Okay.
Okay, great.
Thanks, Tyler.
Thanks, guys.
All right, so our conceptual review 4750 has been completed. And I would like to note, just for future notes, that Antonia Marinucci has joined from the committee. So that's an additional member.
And Donna, this is the last presentation for today, correct?
Yes, and Jamestown is the last presentation for today. And I know Alex said that he will recuse himself since Ohio City Incorporated is the owner of this building, and Alex is on the board of said organization.
Correct. So I'm going to sign off and hand over the chair responsibilities to
Someone else.
Yes.
Who would like to be this assistant's chair? Margaret?
Sure.
All right, Margaret, it is your meeting and I'm signing off. Thank you.
Bye, Alex. Have a
Thanks,
nice
Alex.
weekend.
Anna or Carl, do I need to recuse myself because I'm working with LDA on another project, or is that not? I don't have any connection to this project. I just, is that?
I think
Yeah, I don't-
maybe stating that is probably enough, right, Carl?
I've had commission members recuse themselves because they are working on other projects, but I don't think you have a financial
No,
interest
I don't
in
have a-
this property.
I have no financial interest in this property.
Yeah, so I think we should be okay.
Okay. Thanks. Well, I'll just state for the record that I'm working with LDA on a separate project.
Thank you, Marika. So I believe we have Steve Jennings online to represent this project, Jamestown building here.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Steve. If you'd like to go to the next slide, just let me know and I can scroll for you.
I mean, this is a pretty simple project. The other slides are really just more informative. This really tells most of the story. So there's the existing building on Detroit labeled now the Jamestown building. We don't think that's really a historic name, but that's kind of what people in the neighborhood would refer to it as. So we're really proposing to do the storefront renovation program on the first floor, and then, just the general exterior of the building, mostly paint the exterior, and there's a few areas of windows, and on the very back side, we'll see walls missing on the back side. But on the storefront, you can see here we have our proposed storefront, the existing conditions on the bottom left, and then some historic images as well. So what we've tried to do is reference those historic images and bring back kind of the sign band. If you notice, it was a little bit higher on the elevation than the current condition. They actually, where it says Jamestown now, is below like a structural beam. That originally in those old images was glass, and the sign was in front of the structural beam and that few courses of brick there. So that's one big move. And then the one difference, that over time they added the door on the left to access the apartments and upper floors. So that does not occur in the historic photos, but we would maintain a separate entrance for it's an office on the second floor and apartments on the third and fourth floor. And then a storefront door in the middle on the right side. So I guess we can go on the, I guess we just go through so you get the whole picture. Now the site plan, really we're not doing anything to the site other than on the rear of the building. As I mentioned, we're replacing the rear wall and making that a patio space on that part of the parcel. Next slide. They're just images from the street. Continue. There's some of the top left had that wall that was missing. Yeah, scroll up just a little bit. Yeah, right there is a good spot. So you can see there on the top left photo that at some point the whole back wall was removed. I think that was probably during the construction of the quarter project. So part of it, we are replacing that back wall. So that will be masonry with a glass garage door for that patio access. On the middle image, we will be painting the whole building so that previous Getco sign there will go away. You can continue. It's just the black and white elevations. So this, storefronts on the left, the rear elevations on the back with that garage door and main door.
Steve, the alignment of the signage on the front, it looked like it was aligned over kind of the storefront glass itself. Can you talk about that? To me, it looks, I don't know what other folks think. To me, it looks like it should be centered across the whole building, like centered under that center bay of windows, but that might, I don't know if other folks feel differently on that. I guess I could see it going either way. I think on the first slide, it shows it well, or the early slides.
Yeah, I think, I'm not sure, Donna, if that had the, I sent you the updated slide for the first image.
But this isn't your updated slide. Let me make sure I have the right. So this is not the most updated presentation?
This morning, I just sent just the very first page. It just had some color.
Can you see it? I have it pulled up. Okay, hold on, give me 1 second. Okay,
Yeah. Just a
Right.
quick note for everyone. This is both a historic tax credit project as well as the storefront renovation project. So Steve has been incorporating some feedback both from SHPO as well as storefront. So this gives the most up-to-date view of colors, et cetera, and the storefront dimensions that we've been working on with SHPO.
Correct. So this has been updated to incorporate the specific colors that we talked to the storefront renovation program about. And then, for the state of Ohio, the tax credit, they also requested that the storefront have the 2 equal panes of glass on either side of the door, rather than being off center. The signage, I don't know that anybody made a specific comment on that. I think, Marika, we just thought about it kind of like you did, as far as it could go either way. If it's in the middle, it kind of implies it's a sign for the whole building. Since that door on the left for the upper floors, we decided to go with over the storefront. So that signage.
Yeah, I was assuming that was signage for the whole building, but yeah, I guess that's accurate. If it's
I
no
think
longer going to
this
be
would-
referred to as Jamestown, and that's just a business.
So this would be specific to the tenant, a future tenant.
Well, and the intent would be that once there was a tenant, you'd come back for review of the signage, correct?
Correct. Yeah, which goes back to the historic images, right? The signage was always related to the retail component and not the upper floors.
I mean, I guess that's a question I have. Steve, did you say you don't think the Jamestown name is historic?
No, and I think Emily, she's on from our office. She could probably explain more about that.
I am on. So I did the historic research on this building, and the Heil brothers and Hill Company inhabit all 4 floors from the time it was built in 1880. You can see, if you look really closely at the historic images, that's their name on the building. So the original sign is shown in these historic images, actually from 1913.
Can somebody repeat that?
Yeah, so originally the Howe brothers and Hill Company was a furniture company that actually occupied all 4 floors. So that's what they think. What the most proper name would be for it. If you see the signage in the kind of the right hand corner of that page, and that's what we submitted to the State Historic Preservation Office. Sorry, Emily, you're very you're very garbled. Your sound for some reason.
I got it. I just was thinking, if there was a historic name, I don't know. I think it's kind of nice having the building name on the building. And I feel like you could still do that and then just have the business specific signage, on the storefront space. But if there isn't one that makes sense to put on there, then that makes sense.
I have a question about the signage band. So in the color rendering, those sort of yellow sandy colored painted areas, those represent the same sort of color on the current photo, correct? And then that signage
Correct.
band happens above that yellow band. Okay.
Correct.
And it
So
goes from the top of that yellow band up to the bottom of the sort of the horizontal yellow, fully horizontal yellow band.
Correct. So the only thing that's a little
Got
bit
it.
different is currently where it says Jamestown, like the J covers the top of that masonry pier. Right, so that would continue up to the sign band.
Gotcha. And so the storefront itself would extend, you know, taller up through that Jamestown band that's there currently.
Yep, exactly.
Got it. Okay. Want to make sure I'm reading it correct. Got it. Is there any, so it looks like in the historic photos, there may have been some sort of awning component. Is that something that, well, it's hard to really tell what that is, but is there an intent to do any awnings or anything like that?
We are not intending to do any awnings.
Okay.
Can you talk about?
Has there been any lighting considered? Either it doesn't look like there appears to be any building lighting currently, but is there an intent to add any you know, exterior facade lighting?
I mean, no, I don't know that we've talked about that. So
I don't think so. There's pretty adequate street lighting there. I think that probably, you know, you'd have some exterior lit signage maybe coming back as part of the signage package, but I don't think we're going to do any exterior lighting on the building. I think there's pretty adequate street light there.
Okay.
Can you talk a little bit about the divided lights in the transom? It's hard again to see in the historic photo, but it looks like there are, you know, more proposed in this new renovation that may have been there originally.
You know, it is hard to see from the quality of these images. But yeah, from, you know, working with Chapeau, I guess this was our best guess at, you know, there's kind of that one horizontal line, and then above that, I think the one to the bottom right corner maybe has, you can almost see like there's some vertical lines. But yeah, I guess our interpretation was that there was some smaller lights above the larger storefront glass.
Yeah, it's just really hard to see in the photos.
They're very grainy.
It looks also like there's kind of a curb line at the base. Is that kind of getting taken out, or I don't see it in the drawings still. And I assume for ADA, as you do renovations, that doesn't work.
Oh yeah, so yeah, there's not a step at the, well, there is currently a step. Yeah, so that would remain. I guess in that colored elevation, it's white, it's shown white. There's like a very light line that's probably the sidewalk line.
Oh, okay, I didn't see that. Okay, so there will still be a step there.
Correct.
Okay.
And there's actually a vault underneath there that that extends out into the sidewalk. So changing that would be a major undertaking, I think, actually, too, because it's all kind of integrated there.
Yeah. My only other question is around, similarly, I guess, to the other presentation, just any plan for plantings or green space along the parking lot side. I see this lot every day, and it is really stark feeling in that gap between this building and the quarter. And I'm assuming nothing else is happening there on the quarter side. So I feel like if there's any opportunity for there to be any trees or anything in this gap, this is it.
I'd agree, Marika, absolutely. We don't have a plan for that now, but we will be working with the Snablys. There's like that blank space between the two projects are owned by both of us. And actually, we actually bought the building. Still, we have some easement issues still to deal with that we're, you know, because we're friendly, we're kind of working through right now. They need easements like through, you know, we need easements to access the parking there. I would actually like to, if we can, gate that entire area off so there's not a curb cut off Detroit. And then there probably would have to be a movable fence because I think the power company, all their transformers are kind of in that gap between the buildings, which is why they basically bought this building. And then we bought from them. So we would hope if we could that we could access the parking from the west 28th side and bring it in the back so there's not a curb cut on Detroit. And then, so we'd have, kind of an uninterrupted wall for, pedestrian access. And then maybe some kind of, landscaped fencing, something like that along that parking lot to screen it and make it a little bit more welcoming. Because right now it's basically like it's like a chain link construction fence basically with covering on it. So we can bring that back to you at a later date. We just don't have the plans for that yet.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I wasn't totally sure on if you go back to the plan, the page with the site plan, I wasn't totally clear on whether that back side where it says patio was actually meant to be like vehicular access or not, but it sounds like.
Yeah, I don't think it probably will end up that way. I mean, right now we have the existing curb cut off Detroit, but I'd rather not use it as long as we can kind of figure out the easement issues around the site.
And so would the idea be to use the quarters existing curb cut or another one next to it?
There's actually one behind the building that comes off 28th. So if you can you go back to the site plan, just I think scroll back up, Donna, right there.
Yeah,
so see off of 28th Street, there is actually an existing curb cut.
Yeah, I remember, I know that, but I think is it the one, it's separate from the one that goes into the quarters?
Yeah, it's separate there too. Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Yeah, I mean, I just would love to see anything that you could do and work with Pete on this to try to make that space, especially on Detroit Avenue, feel a little bit more hospitable to the street presence.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, obviously. And like part of it's just like that access that they need to maintain for those transformers, but I'm hoping that we can work it out from the rear. And then, that the parking probably will only be open to the upstairs tenants, not the retail tenants anyway. So that'll be very little used anyway. So I feel like we could maintain the access pretty reasonably without accessing off Detroit, I would hope.
Got it. Is there any plan or thought on what will go in the ground floor here?
So we have kind of a pop-up tenant that signed a lease for us, but they're still in permitting with the city. It's going to be a retail user of some sort. We have it's actually Toast. It's like a sandwich place out of Lakewood that does like a lot of their they do like a lot of even handmade lunch meats and stuff like that, handmade salads and stuff like that, and like kind of toasted Greek sandwiches. And so they were supposed to try it out as a pop-up. We'll see if they even get permits before we get permits for the whole building, unfortunately, at this point with the city, but they're very interested long-term. We haven't done a ton of marketing there or, really open it up just because we know that we're going to have to tear apart a lot of the building to get this work done, especially in the storefront area. We have kind of a second floor user that's doing like a temporary pop-up art use on the second floor. It's called the Splatter Loft. So it's kind of like a thing where you bring people in and they paint stuff. So we're just working with them. We just gave them a really inexpensive lease just to come and try out their concept and see if it worked here. And then the top 2 floors will be residential. Got it. Yeah, the Splatter Loft is already listed on Google Maps. I was wondering what that was. Yeah, they're real good about, they got everything out. So I'm not sure if there'll be a long-term tenant for the space because it's actually more space than they needed. It's just we had this empty space that's kind of run down. So we're like, oh, let's put them in there, put some activity there at least in the interim while we're getting all our permit stuff, and then we'll probably look at long-term tenants as we start to complete construction.
Got it. Thanks.
Any other questions or comments from the commission members? Can I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
Motion to approve as presented. I will call the roll. So Margaret,
Yes.
Marika, Chris Lozier,
Yes.
Antonia Marinucci,
Yes.
and that concludes our roll call or our vote. There's no other committee members. Thank you.
any other business, any other meeting business? That's it. So we can close the design review for today.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.